So let's start with the basic Turkic creation myth. The most common one is that there was an infinite expanse of ocean. The Tanrı is described or pictured or symbolized as a giant bird. Oftentimes it's like a goose, male goose. All right, and or swan, male swan. I believe that this symbolism is because swans are majestic. Swans fly really high, long distances, and maybe like the Chinese, it also symbolizes long life, perhaps even immortality. Okay, and wisdom. I've seen some beautiful, beautiful folk dances from Kazakhstan, from Uzbekistan. The Uyghurs in particular do some beautiful dancing using the swan as symbolism, and it relates back to shamanic times as the creator, the creation. Now this swan, this male swan, flew over this expanse, this infinite expanse, in an infinite flight. And being self-sufficient physically, like pretty much all monotheistic versions of God, it simply wanted to create, and it simply wanted to be known. It wanted things to relate to. It wanted things to know it and things to know. So it began to speak the names of things. And those things came about. They began to rise out of the water. Now, as things began to be created, there began to be a relationship between the earth and the sky, and that Mother Earth type thing. Now, the old Turkic religions, it's sort of a polytheism. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. So the creator and creation is symbolized as a flight over the waters, over eternal waters, in silence and dignity. And during that flight, the impulse of creation comes about. I believe that this, if you take away the religious aspect of it and see it as symbolism, I believe that this is a deep form of meditation that anyone can do, regardless of your religion. If you think of that imagery and you think of creation born out of the flight of the mind takes flight. The mind can be calmly, smoothly on the wings of a majestic goose, like the wings of that majestic goose, traveling over this expanse of water, which symbolizes life. You know, water reflects. Water reflects, like the Japanese philosophy in Zen, how a mind like a still pool of water reflects the moon. Whereas if you touch that water, the ripples, the image of the moon becomes distorted. But there's something actually most people are missing in that imagery, which is, if there was no moon, if there were no stars, if there was no light, you would not even know if that mind was clear or not. Light is the necessary element for the clearness of that mind to reflect the moon. For there to be a reflection, for there to be calmness, there must be light. And that creator creates the light. So creation again, is a form of light giving. You could call it illumination. You could call it the creative force, the divine masculine, and the water, symbolic of the divine feminine. And Erlich, or evil, could be seen as a rejection of both, a rejection of that creativity and a rejection of that light.
God, in the endless darkness, is a concealed treasure turning into himself and sees the splendor of his own being. He loves this essence and spreads love. He wants to know this impeccable treasure, and in order to be seen, radiates and becomes light. This light is divine consciousness, the Word. Allah, this divine consciousness or light, is the one which does not contain the shadow of the many. This duality only comes to be with creation, with the unseen being made seen. The giver of form needs something to give form to. Allah first creates and gives shape to Kulli Nefs, a passive gem from the shadow he casts on his own unbearable light. Kulli Nefs is actually the apparent power of God to give life and body. It is a kind of womb, or place of manifestation, where the potential ideas and creatures within the concealed treasure that God wants to be known can emerge and find life in the world of the visible. Kulli Nefs, this place of manifestation, is shrouded in darkness, in the form of a void. We can think of Kulli Nefs as a kind of mirror or photographic negative. It reflects the spirit, that divine consciousness transmitted uncorrupted through the breath of Allah. There is a link between body and soul in all religions, and the feminine word nefs comes from the Arabic for breath. So Kulli Nefs means that soul or consciousness which binds with the body by means of the breath from Allah. Kulli Nefs is embodied soul, soul and body. In the Bektashi phrase, it is a soul body. Kulli Nefs, the divine consciousness reflected through the breath of Allah, dresses this perfect form with its own jewel of life and love. This creation, Kulli Aql, is also called the genuine light, or universal man. In one sense, Kulli Nefs is the clay Allah uses to make the concealed treasure visible. And that which gives form to this clay is the perfect form of Allah as pure consciousness. As clay takes shape, hands and clay cannot be separated. In the same way, during the creation of the material world, the power to create, to give body and life, mythologically portrayed as female, and the male principle of design and shaping cannot be separated from each other in Kulli Aql. Everything apparent in the universe is touched by that endless dance of polar opposites, active and passive, male and female.